Finally, I got the volume to work, and I'm going to say, as a 5D mystic, that we had a synchronistic event, but it's also, as a 5D mystic, a technical issue. See, so 5D mystics in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, we are able to do this and that because the emotions that come up in our left mode, our verbal and our nonverbal part of the brain, they are a lovely divine feminine, let me make sure not to go, divine feminine with a divine masculine. So our mind and our body are in harmony. It's called the restorative embodiment of you. So when you overflow with humanity, divinity has to descend. Thank you, said Guru. And as he shares, yoga is not about going to heaven. It is about making a heaven of yourself. And what Sadhguru doesn't know, because he's a spirituality guru, is that yoga is a portfolio of ventral vagal nervous system toning exercises. Okay, so boundaries, self-esteem, and how they can affect your relationship. I see a lot of people loving to use words out there on YouTube land and in their day-to-day relationships. I don't see them putting into application the 5D Christ consciousness mannerisms, which are very easy. I learned about it in my catechism with Jesus, my Catholic catechism. So I also learned how, they have stories about tarot being devil. Not true. It's energy. They have stories right now, theologians, they don't want Reiki as an energy healing. I don't understand how they can think they own the universal love energy. But I do understand what a non-bilaterally integrated person is. Let me out, let me out. So their inner child is locked inside. There's nobody home except for the 16-year-old fight is the charge state that leads most of us, at least that's according to the attachment trauma information. Those courses that I love to take, yes, it's because I support people who want to do inner growth mindset. Mindset is everything, which means you have self-awareness, which also involves your emotions. You can't do inner growth if you don't know emotions and thoughts, and you're not your friend. So how your body feels is going to depend on if you work with your thoughts, the biochemistry, and all things that we're learning about attachment trauma. So if people are doing the mantle of yoga or the mantle of mental health, you'll see them using words, and then you'll see them not turn that cheek. And you'll see them not know how to not cast a stone. You'll also see them not know, what is it again? How to forgive. Yes, thank you, Daniel Siegel. When he shares, forgiveness is not about you justifying someone. It's about knowing that the past has happened. And I'm a Reiki master who's also long distance healer. So I've done past life, not only regressions, that's through Akashic record readings, but also let's go to the past and unwind. Okay, now working with a person's energy sphere, amazing. That maladaptive child behavior will not be corrected on its own. You're going to have to be self-aware of when the emotions come up, because it's not just random stuff. It's your actual dysregulated nervous system. Your body learned as a 0-1-year-old, your embodied brain, how to protect you in your environment. Are you securely attached or not? Number one, step one. So if you are securely attached, then your whole self, that's great. Then you can get a handle on your 16-year-old and get off of Elsa's journey, which is what the 4D has not done. So they continue to think that divine feminine just means I have clairs and I have superhero powers, which is far from it. And no person's an energy vampire or dark aura. That's just really insulting. And it's insulting to Christ consciousness, which they want to use 5D with the esotericism stories. I hear all about it. I actually heard a really great explanation about how you move from the 4D bandwidth to the 5D bandwidth. And I didn't have any Patrick McNamara yet, neuroscientist, amazing religious self information yet. And I experienced moving into the 5th dimension bandwidth. I'll never forget it, because as it was happening, I knew it was happening. And then once it was done, I shared that experience with one person, and she's an empowered woman. And I don't know if she considers herself a mystic or not, but she laughed with me and I laughed with her. And that's what empowered people do, because we don't label each other's experiences. We hear and share laughter because it's joy. Because we have a good relationship with our inner child, and some of us have a good relationship with all emotions because we don't ruminate. So when people ruminate in their left mode and they tell themselves a story, they're not actually saying, hey, these emotions that are coming up, let me go do something to release them in a good way. That, though, would require you to have healthy self esteem and self worth. So basically, to not feel grandiose or lesser ashamed. Okay, so let me look at this lovely article, but I had already actually seen this with Terry Real's recent seminar. So in this article, this person uses the relationship grid developed by Terry to conceptualize where your primary maladaptive relationship style leans. Now, see, I don't believe in organizing any of behavior in this. This is what teenagers do, which is why we see people with mantles of mental health and mantles of yoga. Spirituality is a way of life and living beyond the solo self. So it means that your best interest, emotional, mental, and physical, will be my priority. Not my priority. It cannot be if I have not reparented myself or if I have not lost myself. So in my case, I'm lucky. That's why I'm self-empowered. Been my self-empowered self since I was a teenager. If you physically want to try and scare me, I will not be your friend at all. At a certain point, I learned how to make sure that I would only have people who could hear me. Anybody who was a trickster, you're out. I didn't have to negotiate. You're out. That's it. That's why my BFFF thought I was a snob. I'm just confident is what I shared with her, and I know what I want. I know how I want to spend my time. That's why I'm a solo polyamory person, because I don't need a couple, anything to do 24 hours. I actually have only 24 hours today. Better bet it's going to be intellectually, emotionally, physically stimulating. Means no dumb people around, which means that you don't think your dick is the biggest organ or the most, yeah, that's completely, it's not because I'm smart. It's meaning you have more personality than just an organ. Whenever I meet any man who wants to give me the stereotype, I actually shut my left mode because I'm like that poor inner child in there dying somewhere, and I got to deal with this teenager attitude who's not even noticing that they're suppressing everything and they're like a big balloon, passive aggressive, whatever it is. It doesn't mean a threat to me. You're not mean. You're just a poor individual who I'm going to have to put up with for a second, because the minute that you're done, I'm like, I gotta go to the smart men over there. I know smart men. Okay, so long story short, our 24 hours, they're going to be smart people. That means loving, humorous, themselves. The authentic self is really nice. Yeah, not the ones who pretend to be around and to be limitless. Yeah, you're not limitless if you don't know how to handle being fun and to use your brain to read the fine print, right? Okay, I don't like reading the fine print, believe me, but I do like to have intellectual conversations with authentic people, which is what the 5D relationships over here on IHP are all about. And that means divine masculines, divine feminines know we complement each other. We don't need a key. We are curious, open-hearted people because we know what self-worth means and self-empowerment. Okay, so that means that when I and you are talking about the future, we're talking about it with respect to each other. And if there's any of that sexual stuff, it's respected by each other again. So I know some things seem so common sense to me, and then I remember they're not common sense to everyone. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan, childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing. I always say, just in case, but he is a great therapist who has a community online, and he has also really good information, and he's the real deal. He doesn't have a mantle of mental health. In fact, he shares it with his audience. Remember who you're talking to, because if you got the cowardice people, they're not going to have room for your inner child. And that's because they're not doing the emotional lifting. They're not noticing their maladaptive child relationship. Now, when you get articles like this on Psychology Today, great, informative. You know how people are going to use the primary maladaptive relationship style lens. They're going to use it. This is my lens. And they're not going to move beyond it. That's what I've noticed so far. So I've noticed that people get words, and then they get fancy with them, and they don't embody them. And they don't actually keep digging in to figure out what it means and then to put it and apply it. So I know what restorative embodiment is because I am the restorative embodiment self-aware person. I know what trauma charges are because I've explored mine. I have had a sliver, small sliver of trauma memory with fear, the emotion of fear, which I've described what happened and why I knew it was, because it was right here and it was really, really uncomfortable, which is why the expert trauma people will say, please, and I'm not laughing because it's funny, they will say, please have compassion for people that are on a personal development. No, they're on a good therapy journey. It's not easy to get out of dysregulated and modulated, and to go to get a good therapist for your dissociative state, which therapists are still misdiagnosing because they don't go and get updated with their curriculum on anything. And they're doing articles on how to, treat the narcissist bad and how to treat another one of the groups bad, because really their little sales pitch titles, is what I'm going to call it, is really not compassionate. And when you meet compassionate therapists and educators, you'll know who they are. And when you meet the real deal too, you'll know who they are, because the authentic voice always comes through. While those who are stagnating because they didn't get to their inner child, it's not a devil or a demon, they're grandiose, or they're in a state of shame. So what they do is they are indifferent, passive aggressive, and think they know who or who is not worthy. So misanthropists, people who hate humans, dislike them, and mistrust them. 4D. They want to save nature. They don't want to save humankind. Wow. The ones who say science is better or spirituality is better. Again, we got people who think one group of information is not worthy versus another. So that's a person who's walled off. So they're just chit-chatting away and not open to flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. In fact, they are love avoidant. To be able in love, you need your inner child. This. That's when you're going to have, right, I was going to do this, but they don't talk to each other like that. Emotions come up. If you have a window, welcome. And you're not surrendering to the universe to give you anything. You actually know that you are the one who has the 2 hands and the 2 feet, and you get to keep walking because the life is yours. That's your opportunity. So here's an inner child. You don't lose love. Thank you, Jesus, God, and Mother, and Twin, and love, and people, my oversoul. The right use of power. I learned all about it, thank you to my mother, about how not to have people talk to me and how for me not to talk to people. Okay, so when you do know that, that's why you can be between worlds. I'm a divine feminine with my own divine masculine, and it's not confusing to have clairs because nobody is anointed and special, which is what 4D on their lovely journey to La La Land. No, they're on Elsa's journey. They all think they know an evil spirit when they see one, and they scare people instead of helping them. They also don't tell people about good therapy. No, they tell them not to go to therapy and to go get some shamanic ritual, which is no, that's not really what you want to be doing, because you don't know that person's window of tolerance, and any reflective activity is actually going to bring forth something that they are going to want to get a deep dive, but a deep dive with a responsible person. So personal development is fine. My lovely therapists that I learned from, I've asked all of them, and they say you'll know if they need more, but compassion is the starting point. Self-compassion, compassion within, and they can only do that with another human being, which is why relationships are important. Trauma is relational, intimacy is the core. A wounded inner child will refuse to give up on a bad relationship's potential. I have met them. They come to me for mystic Reiki practices, the Reiki sessions, or distance healing with universal love energy. Tarot oracle card. They want channeled guidances, and they want to know things instead of figuring out their own inner world. They want to tell someone else they're right. So their intentionality is not about helping. They are, in fact, spiritual bypassers. And they think that instead they're not. They think that they're going to save someone because they are still, in fact, not clear on the fact that they haven't actually, there's a motorcycle, worked on their own inner child. Okay, so that's why they refuse to leave a bad relationship. And they will also, by the way, navigate to a person that reminds them of home, which means a dysregulated nervous system. So their body remembers their first year of life until they can figure out, wait a minute, I don't need that type of relationship. I'm not a person who is wanting to be mistreated. And then that's because they find out, though, about psych education, or that, plus also getting to meet a 5D human being, Christ consciousness. I learned from Jesus how to forgive just because that was the right thing to do. And I said, you know what? It's cool to me. Sounds good. Feels good. I know it's true. I'm going to be the bigger person, and I will definitely treasure all that I find within. And resourcefulness is not prickly. Nope, not for those of us who forgive easily. You know why? Because I didn't lose my inner child. I didn't lose any of it. That's why it's fun to be a 5D mystic. 4D don't know what they're missing out on. I'm teachable though, because I love learning, and that's what our community is all about. So we do emotional lifting, we do learning, and we do pseudoscience lady again. I fuck up information sometimes, and I like to curse. So yeah, hopefully I'm doing the right balance, because I know YouTube wants the right balance. Okay, connectivity. So we're connected to each other. The power of community is only powerful when we have unconditionally loving people who know that a person in grandiosity will think they're more worthy than another, and they'll wall you off, so they're love avoidant. This grid is showing also the shame person that is love avoidant. They will have resignation, withdrawal, and they will be depressed. So it's like when I see people saying, I will never get married, misogamists, a person who hates, avoids, or opposes marriage. We also have our misogynists, the hatred of women, and sexists, misandronists, hatred of men. I don't like men. Men are all assholes. No, not really. Women, no. Stereotypes. They all keep people in generalized thinking. So you don't move beyond your own charge state. Okay, and there's a difference between people who have fragmented sense of self and fragmentation. And so consciousness, memory barriers, all this stuff. Again, I mix it up. Don't expect perfection here, and expect nothing, actually, because it's food for thought for people who want to build grown-up relationships and to talk about important things. And that's where we also use words however it comes up. And if somebody corrects us, we say thank you. And if we forget again and they correct us again, we say thank you again. So nobody gets frustrated, because frustration is of a teenager who thinks they can know everything and that somebody needs to think the way they think. That's not how I work. I'm willfully ignorant. I tell that to people who sometimes will point out things that I don't learn. Yeah, I don't learn it on purpose. I know how I want to spend 24 hours. I'm called a 3-year-old self. I got it. Not asking you for permission. It's called thank you for sharing with me, or food for thought. That's why it's not personal. It's a whole 3-year-old heart with another person. Might be a whole 3-year-old heart, might not. It's their thing. They know their inner world. I'm not in their heart, okay? So when people have stories that are, what is it here? When a child is not the center of someone's world in a good enough way, they will try to find a home with anyone who will take them. Thank you again. Patrick Tiahan. He's a childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing, I will repeat, and good therapist. And one of his biggest regrets from his childhood was that it made him unkind. My childhood made me kind because I didn't lose my innocence, because I got unconditionally loved, and I did not go at it alone, because I had a twin and a mother who, again, didn't suppress any of my emotions. And that's because the Neapolitans let their kids, you'll hear kids screaming at some point. I'm not going to silence anyone. Not going to make it into, picture perfect Mike. But the point is that kids, they're rowdy for reasons. I didn't like any of the kids, by the way. I learned very easily how I would not be hanging out with teenagers, because they don't listen when you say you're scaring me and you're making me uncomfortable. And I didn't like that. And I still won't like that. Then you grow up and thank goodness, at least they have some form of formality and leave you alone. But the boundaryless, grandiose people, they control and get angry. And so this is where those people are love dependent. So they'll look nice at first, and then eventually, once you do things they don't want you to do, they move into this one. And then we got the ones who are in the shame, and they're desperate and manipulate. And I've seen all 4 of these personally. So shame equals this desperation, manipulation, and then when they're in a relationship, they're going to demand from you, and this is just me sharing food for thought again from external observer. And let's not again call these maladaptive relationship style. No, it's a maladaptive child response. Well, reactivity, but we could use response even though it's not. I need to correct that wording. But a maladaptive child will react. So their safety behavior is what is reactions, but if they don't question what they did, they won't learn about it. Okay, they'll just pathologize it and not try to work on their self-esteem. When you do understand that confusion is often protection for a childhood trauma survivor, you'll know why emotionally unavailable men and women and people, they basically go and hang out with drama kings and queens. It's called, they go to dysfunctional, dysregulated nervous systems, because they all have envy, jealousy, spite, revenge, shame, blame, fault. And they need a good therapist, but they don't want one. I don't want to do personal development after therapy. Okay, so others, they go, you know what? The therapist told me I'm doing a good job. I'm not going to go anymore because why should I? We're all fucked up. No, we're not. We're emotionally either mature. I am. I have fun with people. I got offended, maybe. No, not really. I took some things personally as a teenager, young adult, 16 to about, I'm going to say 20, 25. By the time I'm 27, which is when my clairs began, so I got into a whole nother journey. I definitely worked on the achieving of our state of neutrality and duality. Because when I wrote the inner growth mindset book, I can't speak today. I was no the courses. It's when I finished the courses. I need to remember the years. See, you lose track of time. Look at that. Okay, but the difference between setting healthy boundaries versus being boundaryless. I'm still deciding on our title. So when I meet people, I today know about early developmental trauma, how it takes place in the context of kids feeling helpless, feeling frightened, feeling like things around them are out of control. That's why they want to control things. So today I will know when I'm dealing with a grandiose what they're doing. I will know when I'm dealing with a shame person what they're doing. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to respond. I most likely will choose the right silence on their mood, and I will simply converse. And that is because I don't have anything to say. They're not being rude. Biological rudeness is not a choice. It's called they are being reactive, and I'm not their therapist, nor do I want to be. I'm a friend and maybe an acquaintance, all depends. I'm not their mother, therefore. I'm not going to scold them on anything. They don't need to appease me, please me. They don't need to meet my societal culture. When I'm with the Anglo-Saxon type, it's different than my lovely Mediterranean types. I learned how to navigate that. And now that we got some Neapolitans who don't like to be hugged, I'm becoming aware of that. I'll try to. I always like being here more than Anglo-Saxon because I know that they're less like, oh my God, how dare you come in my space? Like, okay, wow. When I first started going to the US, I had to learn because my American friends, they're all travelers, military brats. So they've been everywhere. We're culturally open to everything and anything. And I learned the difference once I got to the United States of A. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is a completely, wow. I got this woman who found me weird for being a classmate. And I'm thinking, this is odd. Aren't we supposed to make friends in school? Like, what is that? I don't understand. So it's not about the Anglo-Saxon, but the Anglo-Saxon is a lot more. So anybody who's formal with me, I'm like, okay, there ain't no warmth here, and I'm going to try and respect that, and I've learned in years how to respect it. But if you ask me about closeness, I'm going to say closeness means that I get to hug. You know what hugging does? Activates the ventral vagal nervous system. But since the body is not safe for people who did not get a child-centric environment. So if you got treated like a little soldier as a child, which some people did, and you got left to cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry, you got tortured to death, you poor thing. And then we got people who definitely don't even look at themselves, and they continue to date people that are not actually emotionally available. So people that are boundaryless, when I see them, I don't lecture anyone. And in fact, I don't do any of that because that's not right. I'm not here for people's states of consciousness, like Sadhguru shares. The 5D mystics know that. We don't need to be told it. Thank you, Jesus. It was more of don't cast stones, forgive for they do not know. What else was it? Blessed are those who believe without seeing. And like Pachatos Cusco, we know that people have a heart. And so here's where this is Ellen Bader, PhD. I'm going to finish reading her quote. Usually it takes place with parents or primary caregivers not being able to regulate the child's emotions, developmental trauma. Okay, so childhood developmental trauma. This is a course I took with NICABM, Mastering the Treatment of Trauma. I have 3 of them with them, and then I have a buttload of more that I'm going to get through in time. Education is always empowering. In fact, if you ever meet an educator who tells you not to purchase courses, you might as well leave that person's class, because they don't appreciate, apparently, that there are others who have food for thought and qualitative or quantitative data. She must not know, or he or they. So anytime anybody is limiting you, they have obviously chosen that they can tell you how to live your brain which to me tells me you're a person who hasn't grown up yet inside. Because it's one thing if we're passionately exchanging notes, and I have people that are empowered like that. That's why they know boundaries. They're not boundaryless. How they came to get there is because they grew up emotionally. So they're not projecting, oh, how dare you use that word. Today, there's so many people, I don't walk around eggshells. The minute that I notice I got a child in the room, I'm going to let them have the floor. That way I can get out of there because their maladaptive child is chit-chatting over my voice and trying to prove something and taking notes and whatever it is they're doing. I'm just enjoying myself. What is this? What work are we doing here? Okay, so the part about healthy self-worth partners and people who are emotionally avoidant, a woman is not going to be chasing anyone. We're going to have a conversation. Once you give me an answer, I'm done. Being a full-fledged human being means to live totally every aspect, every moment of your life. Thank you, Sadhguru. So we know that you are beautiful. Your contribution to the world is everything you do. We'll let you know about that. And then we will let you know also that there's nothing that you need to fix, that nothing's broken. Because when you have moods, so moods are nothing more than a person being upset. And that's why we don't see that a person's being disrespectful. If a person's envious, jealous, or spiteful, I feel bad for them unless they have some relationship with it. Because Italians, culturally speaking, jealousy to them means you love me. And I have friends that are like that. And so when I hear about the culture, I'm going to accept. I learned to accept different cultures. Then there are those who don't want to accept. Accept means that you hear and you don't have, I don't like it. You have, okay, that's their stuff. I don't need to add the feeling of I don't like it. That's you projecting your own emotional dislike, which is your own karma at that point, which is your own reactivity, which is your own 16-year-old, which is your own subjective opinion, which can become flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable, because you don't do the I don't like it. You do the okay, this is different than what I have heard about. No, I don't like it, but it has nothing to do with what I like or don't like. I don't need to be charged about it. This is equanimity. This is resiliency. This is you being able to be unflappable. This is where it's a practice daily. It feels really good as you move into your restorative embodiment, by the way. And thank you, Dalai Lama. We can approach life with laughter and love, not in spite of all the suffering, but actually because of it. And here's where I don't know if it's the Dalai Lama or Daniel Siegel that says this, but that we kind of have a responsibility to bring joy into the world, because he gets asked by some person who just gets upset at the Dalai Lama for smiling. He gets asked about that, or how dare you smile in the face of all this suffering? And as I correct specifically the responsibility, I don't have a responsibility. I'm a 1-year-old. I'm a 3-year-old that was told, mind your own business, don't nurture. Don't go no nurturing everyone. Here's what a divine feminine will always want to do. We're always going to nurture the life that's within you, because I navigate life from my right mode. So I'm going to see your inner child. The only doorway for you to know life is yourself. Keep it open. I will know that your contribution to the world is you, how you live, how joyful you are, and everything has an impact. So whenever I meet a person, I'm always excited. Then once their boundaries come up, it depends. However they work, I can work with. And if they project something, if they project, it depends what they're projecting. They're probably not going to like if I have to address them with my ventral vagal nervous system, no, because I don't like it. I don't like to get into a specific type of modality because it's not fun. I like having fun with people. They're fun. When I have the individuals around, for example, that are desperate and manipulative, yeah, the ones who want to have love, like they're love dependent and they get controlling and angry, I have no issue telling them, I think we don't do life the same way. And I'm not talking romance, I'm talking just random people. For the passive aggressive ones, yeah, those ones are fascinating because there's only so much of a clown face that we're going to put up with before then we're going to come forth and speak in a very straightforward way. I don't know who you're talking to, but it ain't me. So you better, calm down and choose your words and recalibrate now, not tomorrow. And it's a very straightforward equation, might I add. So when you know how to speak, it's because you know healthy self-worth. Human is not a resource. A human being is a tremendous possibility. With the right nurturing, they will blossom into someone remarkable. Thank you, Sadhguru, again. And here's where, as Daniel Siegel shares, those of us who are a role, secure attachment role as a person, that's what you can be if you have healthy self-worth. If you're a self-empowered woman, man, or they. So you accept, love, and respect people for who they are, not because you're going to tell them how to live life. And we got a bunch of people going around telling people how to live life. And that's because they do not overflow with their humanity. They don't have integration of the brain yet. So they're not a secure attachment figure, because otherwise they'd know how to regulate your nervous system. I do it when I have panic attacks. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, I didn't whine about it. Not that others, I'm not saying others can do whatever they want. I'm saying I didn't whine about it. I knew it was ascension related. I'm a 5D mystic. My clairs began with them. I also can connect it to the freeze response if I want, because as Peter Levine taught me, those who are preemies and who come from a C-section, it's a very traumatic experience. And that obviously also means that within the fetus, you were being attacked. So my body already began to defend myself. In fact, I had the umbilical cord around my neck. So for all I know, every single one of those panic attacks is a freeze charge. I'm not trying to prove the mysticism part. You see, this is the part where 4D feels special because of their clairs. We're special because we're people. And really, is it necessary to use the word special? I'm a 0-1-year-old who doesn't need to be seen by you to be soothed here. I'm already soothed. My name's Maria. I'm safe and secure. Thank you, Mom. She gave me not the attitude. She didn't have me have shame. God taught me how to be humble, and he still keeps me humble, even if I cannot use that word. Akash, the essence of love and life. And it's Jesus who taught me how to stay open-hearted. And Sadhguru, thank goodness, Sadhguru, that yoga is trending. He's doing a lot more marketing. That's great. But it's because yoga is trending that we have people who are getting into the capacity to have that space in their prefrontal cortex, because yoga supports your ventral vagal nervous system toning. That's what it helps. And mindfulness helps you to have those 3 pillars of the mind that create the capacity of your physical brain to integrate. No demons coming out of you, but you have trauma charges, which is why we want to educate people and we want to share with them secure attachment relationships. Come on over, 5D relationships. It's only healthy self-worth people. No ego sensitive. Nobody who has the mantle of mental health or the mantle of yoga. Nobody has the mantle of, I'm a mystic, I'm a special key. Spirituality is where you love all humanity and all life, and we're sensible enough to know that there's things that take place. I have a really, really good, smart divine masculine in my life, and he always makes it a point to share how sometimes there are things that can't work. I never like hearing it at all. Never will I, because that's what a divine feminine does not want to do. I will not be leaving one of my pieces out there. This is no way. That's why we know our weaknesses. And that's why we know that we're heard, because we won't do it alone. You never do it alone. You reach out when you need to. And that's where there's a way that the brain, by the way, is composed. So I saw this article. It's in neuroscience. I need to dig a little bit deeper. And it showed or wrote about the man's brain and the woman's brain physiologically. I know a lot of people there. I'm against gender stereotypes, but I'm not against learning about the organ called the brain and how it works. And I'm thinking about other organs because of these lovely stereotypes. But long story short, I can't remember the regurgitation of material. As I'm reading it, though, I am actually analyzing it from having the capacity to have a good divine masculine around, and then just thinking of all the divine masculines that I've ever met, because the men in my life are all divine masculines. And their way of using that organ is with visual and spatial. And there's 3 specific words that there were used. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And since I'm knowledgeable, thank you, Daniel Siegel, on the brain through interpersonal neurobiology, so I know what parts of our brain work when we're in our prefrontal cortex and in a physiological state of compassion. And I'm thinking, okay, and they explained how the woman's brain is made and how it communicates. And I'm like, this is making a lot of sense of how we complement each other. And, here's the sad part about people who want to perfect their messages and who think that they are needed in order for humanity to move into a balance between it's not just the sexes. This is where divine masculine, divine feminine energy. When I read about ascension and what was to come, the 5D collective, it said all of those of the 5D collective would know that everything was okay. And that's because we have secure attachment. And so I get passionate because I love people, and because I'm practicing putting into practice all the knowledge that I've gained. And then I think of all the Venuses of Goddesses of May, so the Peter Pans on there, and the trending topics that I still see being quite popular, might I add, in the lip service, I think is the word, for people who want to tell others that they're in favor of supporting humanity, so mental health, and they're not doing it. Or that they are yogis. No, you're not. The minute you tell me that there's not an enlightenment person and you're talking about laundry, you've made a bad speech. Because what you're trying to say is, please, inner children who have wounds, those of you who have trauma, be careful. Be careful, because you are looking for magic wands, since you put people on pedestals, since you are vulnerable. Grandiosity and shame, they're both vulnerable. The grandiosity, if they get the wrong person, the grandiosity is screwed. They will not be seeing anything come their way. The point about vulnerability is that you don't use this. You're a 0-1-year-old attached panicking, a 3 to 7 shame submissive. It doesn't matter what you may think you're doing with your brain. I'm here to say they're not doing anything with their brain. If you're smart enough and grounded in your humanity, 3 years tops, not even 4, even 2, even 1, but 3 years. In 3 years, I got to witness a certain amount of things by people as they made choice points. And I can tell you that each and every one of them didn't have to go down their little cycle of karma, because it's their brain. And instead of doing something healthy, what did they do? Went to fuck, went to do drugs, went to do what else? Oh, drinking, I'm sorry. And sometimes a combo of all of it. And it ain't people that are not educated. They got degrees, they got money, they got jobs. Oh, let's see, what's the entertainment about today, huh? Let me go and grab some drama world, shall I? So people, they don't want to hear about neurobiology, neuroscience, and about their actual health. They want to pretend that the life that is out there is still that. And I don't know any young people, meaning I'm 44, so the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, and 50. So I'm not sure how the young ones are doing, but I know that we stand as the example, because movies don't plan on changing. And in the meantime, we got people who have unfinished business and trauma, and they're putting it on this screen. And so we get to see Ben and Jerry's eating ice cream, people going and screwing things up, and people out there actually who need help, who don't get it, whether it's money. But you know what? Sometimes it's not the money. They end up with the bad therapist and the bad counselors who don't recognize, this is something that's off. I'm going to speak up. I don't want your money. I'm going to say to you, this isn't working. Here's what we're going to do. This is the part of where you want results. So whatever you're offering, you're going to want results. Now, if somebody likes your service, that's another thing. But if you want my service, let's just hypothetically say you and I are doing personal growth, personal development. I notice you need a therapist. I will not continue to have you if you don't take seriously your inner well-being. I will support you to get a good therapist. But the point is, I'm not going to, with my clear conscience here, be a person who supports your journey when I know you will not be succeeding. I will see it. I will know it. And here's the thing. Because some people say you don't need a therapist. No, not necessarily, but yes, because they are more knowledgeable about the brain, like Daniel Siegel and any neuroscientist and any human being who's in those subject matters more every day. So they know what to look for that can involve those consciousness and memory barriers that I don't. I can have a hunch, but then I will have no tools. It's like going to a clinic versus a hospital, or at least here in Italy, they have this comparison. A private clinic will not have as much as a hospital, or vice versa. I don't remember. But the point is, you know what tools you have. I know the toolkits that I have that I can support with, and I know where I'm limited. So weaknesses, we all have them, which is why we're imperfect and flawed. That's why we're heard. So Manny, Diego, and Sid. Okay, secure attachment figure won't be ashamed of having flaws, of being intellectually not savvy about everything. The only people who don't know how to handle being imperfect and flawed are the same people that have shame or grandiosity. So they have still shame, because grandiosity, again, is not some healthy self-worth person. It's a person who has a 3-year-old who needs to feel important because somewhere they got shamed. and therefore they don't have integration, which is why they actually will be pompous. And so you feel bad for them, and you allow them to notice what it means to be an actual grown up. And if they are inclined enough and interested enough, you'll see them come more often. That's what people who are present and attuning and resonating and trusting. Thank you, Daniel Siegel. So when we are part, then we will have the capacity to be curious, open, accepting, and loving of each other. And we will be able to be kind and compassionate again. And so building those 5D relationships, it is about knowing that the wounded inner child will not give up on a bad relationship, that they will confuse a bad dysfunctional nervous system for a good one because their home was frightening. And they will only notice the difference once they get to feel a different sensation when the maladaptive child style behavior comes up. So it's once they meet eyes of a person who's in their higher social engagement system who says, no, this isn't going to work this way. The tone is one of respect, and is one of respect because I'm a grown up. So organically speaking, you move out of your charges if you have the left and the right, and you say, I'm an emotional, accountable grown up. I can self-regulate. If I'm having one of my panic attacks, I have learned how to handle it, but I will also learn how to speak about it with no shame. And I will also learn how people who understand it do, and those who don't. And what I'm really thinking about is, shit, I'm a nervous system. I need to differentiate. Thank you, Daniel Siegel. And I need to leave this place because these people are not helping. Or if I'm with people who I know can help, it's because their nervous system is regulated to safety, because it's not a big deal. Their chit chatter is not doing anything. That's because they have empathy and compassion. That means they don't give a shit, whatever it is, whatever it is. I'm not judging the panic attack. I'm not judging Maria. I'm not thinking I know how she can lead her life better or any of that. I'm silent, and I'm simply there with a calm nervous system. And that's how I get to self-regulate, because I am a mammal too. So I will pick up on that, and my nervous system will slowly be helped. If I'm on the other end with a nervous system that's in their sympathetic, flight or fight, doesn't matter. So you're not at ease. You're not enjoying life. You're a human suffering, love, narrative person. I'm not going to feel better. In fact, I'm going to do now double the time work, because I now need to differentiate, disconnect, create space for me and you. You're not an energy vampire. I just don't need your nervous system around me right now. I can't tell you that because I learned how to be a polite grown up. I'm not going to pout about it, whine about it, I'm going to share. Maybe I can vent. Not really. I'm used to people not understanding it on all ends of the spectrums. The ones who complain to therapists who are helping us. What do you mean we have to put up with it then? Okay, really? You don't understand the mechanism. I guess it's like for me, 1 + 1 I get. I don't get algebra, but I do get 1 + 1. Trying to share with you enlightenment the human way. And here you go. Trauma attachment the human way. Let's make it 5 years of age. I can explain it. I can do the best that I can, and I can say it's easy to be yourself right here. The most precious thing is life itself. Will you realize this now or only on your deathbed? Thank you again, said Guru. And as Daniel Siegel shares, integration made visible is kindness and compassion. The road to integration is incredibly energizing. Yes, it is, because like yoga brings heaven in your body, so does integration of the brain, because they both work your higher social engagement system and get you to, one, work with that trauma memory, the trauma charges. The embodied brain. If you have consciousness barriers or memory barriers, that's where you would know, because there's clinical dissociation. And people who want to get help, you know what they do? They go, because they don't want to lead in a life that is suffering. And I know people like that, which is very beautiful. So like Patrick Tihan says to his community, there are cowardice people out there who don't want to do emotional lifting. He's still an inner child who I say is healing, and he has a crew of other children who are healing. So they need to learn to reparent, which means they need to learn how they can say, hey, I need you to back off. Now, he teaches them how not to project, which is why he's a good therapist, versus the ones who don't teach people how not to project, and they actually make them think that boundaries is telling somebody, you can't call me anymore, I'm going to block you. That's not a boundary. That's you creating a limit, being annoying, and not knowing that you just did the teenager thing, versus I am having a really stressful moment. and or da 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 da. It's practice. Practice makes perfect if you do it well, if you're wanting to be compassionate and loving. So that's where people who are misanthropists, we hate people. We don't like them. We don't trust them. We want to be with the stars. We don't want to be around any of the men or women or theys. So those are all teenagers. Let's try and support people to come on over and build 5D relationships and to talk about all of this important stuff, the mental health, seriously, not with filters. We don't need filters. We're all grown-ups. We can talk. And we want to get good therapists out there. There's plenty of them. I got a buttload of a network. The bad ones we leave alone. They're not bad ones. They're serving the Elsa journey. The Peter Pans, the Pinocchios with ears, the 7 to 14 charming. They pull wool over the eyes of, oh, look, here, I caught one. Oh, look, here, I caught another one. Yeah, so Pinocchio, remember how he ends up with the wolf and the fox? The same thing goes with Elsa Journey people. Hey, guess what? You're going to always need an ethical culty leader, culty cult traditional. Come on over. So there's different types, of course. The ones who are empowering are saying, okay, look, like the one Zen master. He's really trying to say, don't fall for somebody saying, I know everything. He just doesn't do a great job at it because he says that no one can be an enlightenment person. And you know what happens when you tell a 3-year-old that you can't do that? Okay, so here's I am presence. I have no shame. I keep saying it. I'm presence. I'm consciousness. I'm human. Human consciousness. And you just told me that I can't feel or think. So while some people say you're just being spiteful, no. But I am being a 3-year-old who's using my creator power. And right now, I'm thinking I'm going to go and manipulate some words. Thank you to all the therapists who let me know we all manipulate. The difference is I'm having fun with using words and you're not. And I can use my intellectual brain. So studies have also shown that those of us who assimilate information, we can do stuff like this. The difference is I'm enjoying showing you how easy it is for somebody to work with anything. That's why it's food for thought. It's qualitative. It's a subjective experience. Here's what an empowered woman can share with you. Any person that doesn't know boundaries, we'll set them up for them. Oh, we will recalibrate. And if they bring to us the people that we don't want, we'll first let them know, oh, I have no shame in saying, 24 hours, all I got. Don't want to hang out with them, especially because all the people I know, I've known them my whole lifetime. And in order for me to have my oversoul expand means that I said, you know what? I like that one. I think you're pretty good. Come on, let's have fun. And whenever I have known that I might not pass the test and I care, that's when I'm like, oh no, am I going to get in? Am I going to get in? Like a 3-year-old, and I got in. And I get in where I want to get in. No, it depends. They might like me. They might not. I don't know. They'll know. But what I'm trying to say is we know what we want. An empowered woman, we don't have any questions. It's more of, did I like that? Yeah. Intellectually, sure. Emotionally, yep. Check spiritually, yes. They don't make fun of my clairs and they don't talk down to me. It's all good. Let's go have fun. Let's have some more fun. And if you bring me people that are not fun, I will let you know again. And if you want to hang out with them, bye. See you later, alligator. Not for sure anytime soon. It's about being the picky no snob. Go watch that one. We have it. So join us over here. Let's love people and let's make mental health an important piece of business. Not, I don't want to do personal development. I don't want to do therapy. I want to go be Pinocchio. People still complain and use the devil's story. Let's use different stories. That way they might get a good challenge. Because see, I love a good challenge here. Here, let's read Sadhguru again. I love Sadhguru. This one is one of my favorites. I love always opportunities to love more. New, challenging situations are possibilities, not problems. Thank you, Sadhguru. And like Albert Einstein says, stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So do the human suffering love people. They are always, no, Maria, you have to suffer. No, not really. I don't use my temporal junction. I know that the most precious thing is life itself, and I do realize it now. I live on a supervolcano, which, woke me up today at 5 a.m., and I was not happy. So I know that every day I'm going to leave the world in a more enlightened way because the world is beautiful. And the future generations, I care about the future generations. So they can learn about emotional maturity, accountability, and they can also learn how to self-regulate, and that every word they utter and every action they take that their very existence can be about their own well being or everyone's well being. And I would say that anyone who says I'm a spirituality person, they know that they are connected and have meaning beyond the solo self. So, secure attachment people, we have the capacity to self regulate and be our safe haven, secure base, and then to have friends and lovers, solo poly, and monoamory people, all welcome, of course. But the point is, we love people for who they are and we talk. If you're a moody, I'm going to tell you, you're moody. I'm not going to get offended. And then we're going to keep on looking to do things that can expand our lovely globe. And again, reduce the confusion of the poor people who are wounded in their children who keep dating people that don't. It's not about leaving them or, the whole dating beneath yourself. Anyone who's in codependent type relationships, they both on all sides. They can use good therapy or good personal development, but they need to be self aware. And then they need to be also emotionally aware in addition to that self. So we'll be back with more. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, and remember we have the Ask Maria section. Have a great one.